Hello, everyone. We're doing the battle report this week for what you've seen some of the preceding material for a game where Renegade Demons that I was playing played against Nomadic Waaagh, Paddy, who is the other half of this channel. So we did a bunch of lead-in looking at how close order units align with skirmishers when they charge at vortexes, some of the secondary objectives in 1.5, and a decision I made about playing the odds that I think sort of sums up an approach where you need to be a bit more aggressive when playing Warhammer if you're going to do well, especially over the long haul. So we're playing drawn battle lines. This is the third in a tournament that we're not only running ourselves, 12 players in about less than 2 weeks' time, but in the lead up to a bigger tournament that will have 40 players or so. The Old Hammer series you might have heard us talk about here, Spring Fling. It's on again on September 27th. So in a few weeks of playing a warm-up, we wanted to get used to some of the missions. I hadn't played with secondary objectives yet. So this map is really interesting with that sort of diagonal deployment. And sadly, my image here is cut off a little bit from the bottom, but the Western Sydney Wargamers have created somewhat of a fusion between the square-based maps and this match play guide scenario in itself. So they've got a hill in each of the deployment zones, and then a forest in the middle, and two impassable terrains, which are buildings on the map that sort of frame these three strategic locations in the middle. So on top of that, I should add, just going back, that these strategic locations have been adjusted to be worth one battle point at the end of each round, so not at each player turn. The match play guide gives you 30 points per turn. We don't think that really moves the needle a lot. The Western Sydney Wargamers have framed that as one battle point, which is the equivalent of about 250 battle points. I felt like this was really good in the wash up of this game, and I think it was meaningful in a way. If you've been a long time follower of the channel, the differentials that the Western Sydney Wargamers use are 250 battle points. They're quite good. They're good at designing scenarios where if you don't play the scenario, you will lose. But if you play both, it creates some interesting dynamics. And I think their goal typically across the three maps is to have you need to create a varied army to be able to do well in each of those scenarios. We'll get back to those. You'll see reports coming up on the first two scenarios that we'll be playing over the next month or so. So here's the gang, my army. I've been looking forward to playing this for a very long time. I had a Keeper of Secrets as my general illusion, level 3. She ends up rolling Miasma Mirage, Confound, Crystal Column, and Spectral Doppelganger, so I dropped the Mirage for Glittering Robe. More on that later. She had, I just played a default list where she had the Demonic Robes, can't be wounded on a 2, and had Enrapturing Gaze, which means anyone in combat with her can't use the General's Inspiring Presence. I had a Bloodthirster as well. He had the Blood Flail and Demonic Robes too. That's it. I think two Graded Demons are great. It might seem like a lot. They are not what they used to be in, say, the editions I played where the Bloodthirster typically was the biggest thing running around. I think they're quite fair, and in the chats that Paddy and I would do later, we'll talk about some of those takeaways where I think demons are really fantastic median army if you're playing renegades. So on top of that, I've got a skull cannon of Khorne in rare, a lot of fun for me, and I've got three blood crushers, no additional command or anything like that. I've got three flamers with a level 3 exalted flamer running demonology, so I always get the summoning. I got Steed of Shadows and Gathering Darkness in this game as well. So I can't remember what I gave up. Nothing meaningful. Like really, you want Steed of Shadows, and I think in future I might even consider just dropping that guy back to a level 1 and saving 60 points, to be honest. For core, I had to make some tough choices. The main reason I like Keeper is I think Seekers of Slaanesh are incredible as a core unit. They're extraordinarily mobile. They hit quite hard, but they are very fragile. So I really wanted them to run in core. I think the other core units that are good are already good. I don't like bloodletters, but plague bearers, which I've since painted up, will be in the next demon battle report, are good. And I think pink horrors are okay. So I've got 15 pink horrors as well. They're unaffected by the errata, so they're bound for casting gift of mutation, short range, but very powerful spell. So they have gift of mutation, which is pretty easily cast. And then also probably one of the what I would call biggest skill tester units in the game, Chaos Furies. For all the theory hammerists, everyone's like, oh, Chaos Furies are so good. I don't know if they're as good as you think they are because they, even before where you could play them in smaller numbers, where they would have been better, now needing unit strength 10 to score, they've gotten a lot worse. I'm running 14 at the moment, and they are corn, but being immune to psych and not being able to flee or even break is a huge deal for these types of units. So in the games I play, they're okay. But this idea that you want to play like 50 of them or whatever because they're so broken, it just has never really played out in reality. It hasn't even been close, to be honest, to what people think. So I really like them. Still, just because fly, skirmish, swift stride, they do hit really hard. If you can get in, they're quite good. But I would love to be able to play five and get away with it. So whether or not, I do think you sort of want three core units for a unit, for an army like this, but they are the worst unit, I would say. Even worse than Pinkaros at the moment, which is saying something. Paddy was running Nomadic Waaagh. He had he likes a big block of ball boys that had a big boss in it. I can't remember what the big boss had. Um, didn't have a lot and didn't do a lot, but he was in there to hit hard. And we might put in the chat when if Paddy can give me the magic item rig. I think glowy green amulet was in there, but I don't know if it was armored up to hit very hard. He had a shaman who's going to get +1 for being in there to cast, who takes battle magic and lore familiar, so can get Oaken Shield. And I think he did take Hammer Hand otherwise as well anyway. So it's a big combat block. Um, he didn't have Red Raggedy Flag. He had that in the Goblins. At this time, he had the Banner of Butchery. So they're big uns. They hit a strength 6 on the charge with the impact hits. They're definitely meant to be this sort of pseudo Death Star, which is how they sort of operate. His Wyvern was the general. He's playing an Orc boss to get not a Black Orc, so he can get these guys in core and had the triple save, Trollhide Trousers, Armor of Meteoric Iron, and Talisman of Protection, and a great weapon, which again was super great in this game. So his superstar was this little goblin level 4 shaman, level 3 shaman who had the Staff of Badoom, so plus D3 to spells, and took Waaagh magic, as we'll see, so practically unkillable running around out there. Ruby Ring as well, which was quite good in this game. Two Black Orc chariots and a giant in rare. One of them had a standard on it, and he was running these Wolf Riders in ambush with Kicknick, who I thought was quite good. So Kicknick makes them a bit more controllable when they're going to come on. They had the Red Raggedy Flag to get their weapon skill up and add a bit. They were there to come in as a bit of a res block in the back. And if you, again, a fan of this channel, thank you very much for starters. But you know, Paddy is a big fan of ambush, and I am also a believer. And I think it was good before and has only gotten better. You might have seen the new video by now. So we are setting up like this, and you can see the angle. So Paddy has set up his Black Hawk chariots on the left flank, the Wyvern in the center, and then his Boar Boys and Giant and Shaman are running down this right with the Wolf Riders off here in ambush. I can't speak too much for his plans. My plan was certainly the Keeper's the general. She's got the crystal column, or it, or they has the crystal column. And I have set up my pink horrors to be able to grab one objective once I knew the Boar Boys were over here. And the Furies and Seekers are going to contest this other one, hopefully. The Keeper's going to anchor the middle. The Skull Cannon was the first thing I dropped because targeting Black Hawk Chariots was ideal. And the plan all along was for the Bloodthirster, I can't really beat. We know the list in advance. The Bloodthirst is not very good against the Wyvern, and the aim was, well, I would like to get him in, peel some wounds off him, but I need to do some damage on the way across. So I'm going to try to hit the chariot and skip through to the Wyvern. Uh, I've put the Blood Crushers and Flamers over here, and my plan was to just harass this unit as they came back across. Sorry that I keep doing that. And it doesn't really go as well as I thought. But that's what it looks like at the start. So, it always looks great, that first shot, doesn't it? Of setting up and best laid plans, dot, dot, dot. You know how that goes. Shout out to Jeff, our major sponsor, Pandemwargaming. I may have said resin in the past. Jeff is printing in full plastic, high quality. You can see many of the products, actually, this whole Demon Army has aspects. The Keeper of Secrets was Jeff's, and while he sometimes prints idiosyncratic things like that, his main line is to run terrain for you, bases, especially custom bases, and then other accessories like Pillar of Fire or templates that you might want to run for your games. So follow that link for Jeff. It helps support the channel, keeps Jeff going as well. Very high quality product. We're buying from him all the time and use him all the time in the videos that you see here. Of course, our supporters, Go Silver Dave Sick, Gomo, Kitro, Josh, Dan McCo, Nathan, and Adam, thank you so much. I have got a microphone coming soon, a big one. So hopefully that if my voice soothes you to sleep, it's going to get a lot better in the coming videos. Thank you very much. Okay, to the game. So, what happens initially is I win the die roll to go first, and on the left flank, I'm able to do 3 wounds straight away with the skull cannon onto one of these chariots here. This one that is coming through behind the impassable terrain. Uh, that was a really great start for me. The pink horrors move up onto the objective, and I've able to then swing. I move the demonettes onto an objective, and I move my furies across. So after I saw what Paddy had done, I decided to have the demonettes compete on the objective because I felt like they were the most mobile, and this fury block would move backwards to and to sort of keep 8 inches from the side so Kicknick and his group couldn't come in from the back line. This is one of the reasons why I think ambushes are so good. It's not what they do, it's how they distort the game as well. And with units now moving forward, that's amplified significantly. So I was willing to give up this unit a little bit to start with to get them in a position to just prevent being massacred by Wolf Riders, say, hitting the Skull Cannon or the Demonettes in the rear and carrying forward. So the keeper was able to get Crystal Column off straight away, and as predicted and seen in the earlier video, it really stayed there the whole game. So the idea here was to block the Wyvern from being able to charge on the first turn, and that was effective. So I am just touching this objective, the Demonettes, and attempting to claim it on the first turn. So yeah, you can see there their wound marker on the Black Orc chariot. I've moved the Bloodthirster, so flown over and then used lumbering, and so both chariots are in my charge arc. I really wanted to be able to get that charge off. I could have come further and been charged, but I figured that I needed to keep. If he was going to charge me, I was going to enter that forest, which is very risky, dangerous terrain for the chariot. On top of that, though, I was willing to take my time with the Bloodthirster if I needed to. Hilariously took a wound from move through cover. He's a brute. On the right, you'll see this in the video about open or close order charging skirmishers. The Exalted Flamers move up into the forest, which I think is a mistake in the end for me. And these Blood Crushers are going to try to come around the forest. Remember, my aim is just to harass this unit. I'm not looking to kill it. I was going to look to shadow it and then use first charge later in a combo charge. So, what happens next is Paddy, if you might have seen the video, is able. There's a 50-50 charge. I think he needed a 4 up on one of the dice to be able to get in on the Flamers, but he did, and that was my mistake. The video goes at great length about the various complications in that sort of charge. But the end result is he butchers the unit completely, gets the overrun, and then is going to restrain and reform back to the middle. You can see in the background the giant has moved over to head off the blood crushers who are coming around, and things are not looking great for me on the right flank. So Paddy also was able to cast Foot of Gork here. The video on Vortexes makes it clear that that was pretty good and ends up killing one of the blood crushers. Did a lot of wounds and making it less appealing for me to hang around in that area and try to take on the giant. So hopefully this map gives you a good idea of the movement. I've sort of folded back and are going to try to swirl around this left side and have picked up this objective, or I'm on to contesting two objectives already. Paddy has pushed really hard through and already won his way through the left flank in many ways, and he's going to come back across this way too, and we'll see how that goes. The Flamers are already dead. On turn two, an interesting scenario occurred, which I ran through in the video, where I had to choose, should I charge this chariot and keep going, or risk shooting it with a very, very low quality shooting attack. I do go for the shots. You can see the flamers have reformed into a line in that ridiculous maneuver that you're allowed to do in this game. And with 30 shots, manage, even though it was mathematically improbable, to take that last wound off the chariot. Gift of Mutation was up. They were on toughness. The toughness was minimized, but the 3+ armor was still a big deal. So I was able to reduce that toughness by 3, actually, down to 2. So I was rolling 3+ to wound, but I managed to get through 2 hits, which was a bit improbable. And then Paddy needed to roll a save on 2. He had 2 3+s to make, and he failed 1, and it died gloriously, which was wonderful. And great moment in Warhammer. Thank you, Paddy. On the left, the Skull Cannon maneuvers to try to take on this Black Hawk Chariot that's come around the side. I misfire my cannon shot at that point. The Furies, you can see, this is sort of a better shot of how they've moved across to continue to prevent this ambushing unit coming through. And the Bloodthirster has sort of moved across to charge or be charged next turn. Their blood crushers just give up, having lost one of their number. With the flamers dead, they decide, well, it's better to head off back to the middle and not take on this giant. They've taken evasive maneuvers to try to get around this Foot of Gork, which luckily moves a different way this time, but still damaged. I probably could have been squarer to the Boar Boys and have lost a couple of inches from the behind. The Demonettes had been hit by Ruby Ring, which went off, killing 4 of them on the first turn. They decide to, while they stay in touch, they move past the Wyverns, they can't be charged. They're going to go after this Shaman and see if they can get him. And on Paddy's turn, he does shoot the rest of those Demonettes off with Ruby Ring again and escapes with the Shaman. The Wyvern charges the Bloodthirster. Interesting fight. Does 3 wounds to the Bloodthirster. The Bloodthirster is a great model. Like, no Swift Stride, great on the charge, but if it gets charged, it doesn't have great defense. Toughness 6 is incredible, of course, but just a 5-up save after that. Whereas the Wyvern and his 5-up, 5-up, 5-up save pretty much absorbed all of the wounds to start with. I think I did some that got regenerated, so combat was sort of drawish, or I might have lost by 1 and rolled past my demonic instability test, but I'd taken 3 wounds. So it was interesting to see the Wyvern was very much able to tank the Bloodthirster quite easily. So Paddy, on his turn, his Kicknick unit comes on. It can't come on anywhere to deal much on my side of the board, so he's brought it on here to sort of, with reserve move, it's going to move up and then take on these pink horrors on the next turn. Yeah, so you can see again here, everything on Paddy's side is moving into this left-hand corner. The blood crushers are coming up behind. The demonettes are dead in the middle. Over here, his chariot is gone. You can see that I'm being hemmed in on the left, and things are not looking so good for me, to be honest, at this time. All right. Paddy sets up his Black Hawk Chariot in that last turn at the extremity of my Skull Cannon, who, outside the range of my leadership of the general, fails its impetuous test and has to charge. But gloriously, I roll a 6 and 5 and get in. And Paddy, who's done a lot of great work on his emotions, thank you, Paddy, over the last year of Warhammer, dropped his bundle at that moment briefly, but he composed himself. And luckily for him, he did because the Skull Cannon, even with its impact hits and its stomps, does pretty much no damage to the Black Hawk Chariot. And Paddy wins combat. And I don't die the first round, but things are not looking good. I back my Furies up here, expecting that my chariot's going to win or do all right in that combat, and that I will be able to charge the side of this Wolf Rider unit and take back this objective, or at least win the context for it as things continue. So the pink horrors reform in anticipation of the charge and stay on the objective. So right now I'm up a battle point in that first turn. The Wyvern kills the Bloodthirster. I do end up getting 2 wounds off of it, or actually whatever it takes to get it down to 3. Maybe that was 2, or maybe it was 3 wounds in the end, but pretty easy. So the Wyvern then just decides to reform and face the Seeker. It has a bit of options. It could have gone into this combat, the horrors as well, but that would have meant because they're unbreakable, which we'll talk about in the chat about how unbreakable distorts a lot of the maths, and so a very small proportion of armies are playing almost a different game to you in Warhammer, which may or may not be a bad thing, but we think at least the undead versions are probably a bit too powerful at the moment. But he was risking the Seeker would then hit him in the back in the next turn. So if he doesn't wipe them out, that's what's headed. So he turns around and on his turn gets to charge my keeper. Sorry, not Seeker, keeper. He also started to bring his ball boys into the action. So if you thought it was looking bad for me, it really was. However, the Seeker, the keeper, again, sorry, is able to roll Spectral Doppelganger. So it gets through, can't dispel it, and then I roll an 11 on the Spectral Doppelganger. So fascinatingly, the Doppelganger hits pretty hard, and Strength 6, -2 AP. I get through a lot, and he saves a lot of those. However, then my 6 attacks and my stomp attacks, I think Paddy had to make 9 saves overall. And then the last 3, he was making separately just 5+5+5+, and failed all of them. So the Wyvern dies. And after coming back with 3 wounds in an attempt to tank the keeper just shred one-shots it with the first strike ability as well. I think it got to stomps just to finish it off, and I must have rolled enough. Or the keeper gets through and then rolls on. And so I am going to overrun and get into this combat. He was smart enough to do the other combat first, but fortunately here, where it looked like I was going to get absolutely crushed, the Wyvern is now dead and the keeper is going to run amok. So that's what it looks like. I've got the Black Hawk Chariot here. The Black Hawk Chariot has smashed into the Skull Cannon and then has got actually one, sorry, I should say. So Skull Cannon keeps whiffing, gets to 1 wound and just pops, failing the instability. So then the Black Hawk Chariot mows into the Furies. The Wolf Riders have come through into the Pink Horrors. The Keeper is overrun after killing the Wyvern into that combat. The Boar Boys are ready to go, but it's my turn next. And the Blood Crushers are coming up behind those Boar Boys at the moment. They should be a little bit further back. They're not going to be able to charge the Boar Boys yet. Paddy's moving his Giant across, and the Shaman, who's invincible, again on a steed like a Wolf Rider, incredible, is just maneuvering back, staying in dispel range, doing its thing. So the Black Hawk Chariot gets to work and starts whittling away at these Furies who are trapped in skirmish formation, not doing much at all. The Wolves get into the Pink Horrors, and there's a lot of whiffing. Kicknick does some work with the wolf that he's riding, knocking out a couple, but a lot less than you would think. And the Keeper then just starts butchering them. So even though at that point the Horrors are probably in trouble, the Keeper rolls up Doppelganger again, gets it through again, and is able to kill a whole bunch, I think about 6 Wolf Riders, maybe more, and win combat by a lot, which breaks them. And in pursuit, the Keeper being further back is going to, where Swift Stride 2 is going to go, whereas the Pink Horrors try to restrain and reform. And that's actually they both go, but the keeper will go first because it's going to most likely to catch them, and you don't want to block the Pink Horrors, and the Pink Horrors are going to move forward, knowing they're not going to move much past the objective to try to get away from some of these other units. That doesn't really work too well at this point, but you can see on the left, so if we count it up, actually, no, the keeper does a hell of a lot more damage than that. Maybe killed 10 all up. So breaking them pretty easily and running them down. That ends up leading to a combat where the Boar Boys then hit the Pink Horrors, wiping them out. And my Seeker is then able to with the get in with them and the Blood Crushers. So I think just before it gets there, sorry, I should say that's where it goes next. The Black Hawk Chariot is moved across but is not able to get in. The Keeper's able to come back in, charge into the rear of the Boar Boys, and the Blood Crushers are going to go into the front. So Paddy had the choice. We didn't really have great photos of this, unfortunately, but when the Horrors were able, on that objective, the Boar Boys come in, kill them to a man, take the objective. He could have sat on the objective and gained the victory points or moved away, and then I wouldn't have been able to charge him with both. It was really interesting. So the fact that it was worth 250 victory points, he decided to stay. If it was worth 30, I doubt it he would have. And I think if you watched our video of Val, he made the same point about this, that it's a great idea, these objectives, and they are making the game better, but they just aren't pointed well at the moment. They really need to be worth more. And to do like what Western Sydney have done and done at the end of each turn, it just reduces each round, it reduces some of the accounting a little bit. So yeah, I end up with the combat I want. The persistence from the Blood Crushers plays off. They get their first charge too. They end up doing pretty well and kill a bunch of they I think kill three, but they get killed back in return. There is Oaken Shield up and other benefits. The Seeker goes to town again, probably kills about six, maybe four or five or six, and I win combat by a lot. Sorry, I should say the Keeper was actually in a challenge first with the boss, but did 4 or 5 wounds overkill, which was great, and striking first and didn't get the stomps, but did a lot of damage. We worked out later that he probably could have glowy green amulet. I think I got doppelganger off again. It was going bonkers for me. So the keepers run amok here. But then compounding that, we've got in combat with Terra in the flank, sorry, in the rear. It was double ones to stick around, and they fled. They killed the Blood Crushers, but the remaining Boar Boys have to flee. The mage is still alive in the unit. There's about 5 left, but they do get away. So they outrun the Keeper, and the Keeper ends up in the firing line of this giant in the Black Hawk Chariot. So the final turn is really, you can see there, so 6 or 7 left, but they've run. In the back, these are just dead models. Here, the Black Hawk Chariot is not able to get in there on his turn because I'm now going to be too far away and out of the charge arc. I think we figured we did have a look at this and it couldn't get in with the wheel. But the Giant is close enough to attack. So it was a bit of a fun end to the game where the Giant makes a charge on the Keeper. I attack. I think I get the Giant to 1 wound. Doppelganger did not go off this time, incredibly. And Paddy, I think his attack wasn't very good, but he rolls to 6 stomps and ends up through the ward, leaving me on 1 wound with the Keeper. So, although it was an incredible game, again, like the last battle report, my Gorgon's left on 1 wound. My Keeper goes down to 1. I have to give up the points for 25%. So 50% of the points for getting it below 25% wounds. And there you have it. Like the end result really was 12-8 in tournament reports to tournament points to Paddy. So he had 3 battle points to 2 for the objectives throughout the game. The Boar Boys were able to hold to in those combats. You saw with the Wolf Riders, they outnumbered the Pink Horrors in unit strength, so they were winning there. So he had twice he was on it with the Boar Boys, once with the Wolf Riders, and I had the Pink Horrors that held it twice. So again, another bloodbath. We both talked about how enjoyable it was. I think in the end, although it looked like he was winning a long way, once the Keeper of Secrets got off the chain, very good model. I would probably say better than the Bloodthirster. It's not just the doppelganger, the ability to be a wizard and that move 8 +1 for being Slaanesh plus Swift Stride, you've got a lot of mobility. Striking first, all these things came good all the time. So the Bloodthirst is a bit of a like if you get the charge off, it's brutal, but you can still whiff, and it's good against high value targets. But they tend to come well armored as well. If you're watching the old War Behemoths, Alex Searle plays a great unclean one who's very, very hard to take down. So maybe that's the best of the greater demons, but I was very impressed with the Keeper, especially being able to take Seekers in core. I think demons are a fantastic army in that you've got a lot of different unit types, and not taking magic items really makes the game a lot more fun. Things can die. Your big models have big stats. Those stats matter because they're not always artificially inflated to extremes. And while the Wyvern is probably the antithesis of that, it was good to see them battle back and forth. The Greater Demons are iconic in my mind for what Games Workshop's IP is. So yeah, I think it was about 300 plus kill points to Paddy. Didn't get those ball boys down. Everything but the Keeper was dead. He has a Black Hawk Chariot. Most of his giant is gone, and didn't get the 50% from the ball boys. Both his wizards were still alive. That Wolf Shaman killed me throughout the game. It was just hyper mobile, untouchable. Really, once the demons were gone, Ruby Ring was good in this game. So still, you still have to account for it. If you have no other ranged attacks, I think you should probably still be taking it, even though you need a 7 each time now. The Ball Boys unit, the Ball Boys Death Star is sort of a fun Death Star. Against 75% of things it stampedes them, and against 25% of things it's a little bit vulnerable. I thought Kicknick was also great. In reflection, Paddy will probably say that he wouldn't put him in combat again like that. And I agree. The threat that they pose with their res is massive, and that they can come on anywhere, huge movement range. Kicknick himself adds a bit of damage. So if you've got ranks, the bonus from the standard, his bonus for getting +1 and fear when they attack. I think it's a very versatile unit that can do a lot of things, and your opponent can really be caught off guard by it. So yeah, really fun game. If you are on the fence about Legacy, I mean, Nomadic Waaagh is great, great fun. Get into it if you want. But if you're on the fence about Legacy, I would put Demons as maybe the third best Legacy army. I think it's pretty clear that Vampire counts are ridiculous. I think Dark Elves have a Dragon build, a Pegasus Sorceress, Cold One Knights, Dark Riders maybe even, that are great. So there's one build of Dark Elves that's useful. So whether or not you think Chaos Dwarves are up there, I don't know. I think Demons might be pretty good. If you can run 2 Greater Demons, I think I think getting the Sorcerer, extra Sorcerer who's good at casting the Summoning is good. Um, the core is okay, and the rare is a bit of fun. So you'll see a Soul Grinder in the next one. But until then, thanks again for watching this far, and I hope if you haven't, like, subscribe, or become a supporter of the channel. Thanks a lot, guys. See you later.